Good morning. This lesson is going to be all about settlements. So by the end of this lesson, you will know what makes a good site or a good place to build a settlement. And you will be able to explain some of the different things that are needed for building a settlement. So the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes and I'm going to read you a short story. Okay, so you don't need to watch me now, you don't need to read it off the board, you can just close your eyes and relax and listen. Okay, so the year is 1752 and you are travelling in a ship, exploring the world with a team of explorers. Suddenly there's a huge storm and your ship is wrecked on a deserted island. All that is left is yourself and 4 friends and some horses. You are going to have to build a settlement somewhere to survive. What resources will you look for? Okay, you can open your eyes. So you imagine there's been this massive shipwreck, okay? Here you are on this deserted island. There's nobody there apart from yourselves. Your ship has gone, completely disappeared. There is nothing left apart from you and your horses. So what are you going to do? You sit down and you have a think, okay? And you decide you're going to have to build somewhere to live. And you could be there for years, nobody's going to find you. You don't have a phone, it's too long ago. You can't phone someone, you can't ask for help, you're stuck there. So what I'd like you to do is this, I'd like you to draw this onto a piece of paper, a good place to build a town, and I'd like you to think about what you would look for on the island that would help you to survive. So in other words, what features would make a good place to build a town? So you can pause the video now and you can have a go at writing a brainstorm, okay, so writing down some ideas about what would make a good place to build a town. Okay, now you've done that, let's have a little look and see what you've come up with. So if you came up with near a forest or a woodland, so you've got wood to build your houses, that's a really good idea. You're going to need wood to build your houses. Not only that, you might need wood to make a fire. So that would be a really good idea, building near a woodland. You may also have chosen flat land. Do you want to build on the edge of a mountain, on a hill? Probably not. So that's another factor you may have chosen. Another factor you may have chosen might be really good soil. Now this is thinking in the long term, but let's say in the end you decide to try and plant something, as you find some seeds and you plant them, you're going to need really good soil to grow plants with. So you may look for really fertile, good soil. You may also look for a forested area for wildlife and things like that you could try and hunt and eat. So these are just some of the things that you might choose. Oh, and of course, one of the most important, I'm sure most of you have said this, is access to fresh water to drink. So you're going to need to find a river or a lake, okay? It's no good being next to the sea. You can't drink the seawater because the seawater has salt in it, okay, from the salt that's in the sea. So you would need to find fresh water. There may be lots of other things that you've come up with as well, but we're just going to focus on a few of them for today. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is I'm going to ask you on plain paper to produce something called an extended mind map. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to link these factors together. So in the middle of your mind map, you're going to have a good site. Site means a place to build a town, a settlement. So in the middle of it, you're going to have a good site, and around the edge, I would like you to write these different things. Forest, flat land, river, and good soil. Okay, these are the things that you need. And then what you're going to do is you're going to explain why along the chain. So I'll show you, I've done an example here. I put forest. This is because you want to burn the wood to create fuel. This is to keep warm and cook. You might have another chain because forest might be good for finding animals that you can hunt. So you would find animals that you can hunt, have something to eat. Okay? You might have forest. You can build houses with them so you have shelter and can keep warm. Then over here you might have flat land. So your house doesn't fall down, the land is more stable for you to build it on, okay? And so on. So what I'd like you to do is have a go at creating your extended mind map on plain paper. And it could be really, really, really detailed. Now what I'd like you to do is I'm going to ask you to have a go at turning these into explanations. So if I just go back to the mind map again, the reason why I've asked you to do it like this is it helps us to explain in detail. So if I was to explain a good site, I might say a good site for a settlement would have a forest. This is because you could cut down the wood and use it to burn it as a fuel. This means that you can keep warm and you can cook. that would be one paragraph. Okay, it's statement, explain, elaborate. Now, you may then go on to do another one, so you might say a good site for a settlement would have flat land. This is so that. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to have a go at writing your own 4 explanations, okay, to say what would make a good site. Now, I've done a modelled example here for you. I've colour-coded it, and what I'd like you to do is have a go at doing your own ones, okay, using that system to explain what would make a good settlement. Here's an example of a mind map another student did, which is a really good one. So can you see, okay, they've used their colours, okay, and they've continued to use it to explain with. And this is an example of a good explanation that's also been colour-coded to show what's a statement, what's an explanation, and which bit's the elaboration. Okay, when you've finished all that and you've done your mind map and your explanations, you can have a go at looking at these different pictures and writing down whether you think they're a good site for a settlement. So have a look at each one and you can write down yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, whether you think each of these are a good site. So if we say this is called number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6 and number 7. So you can write down for each one, yes, it's a good place for a settlement, or no, it isn't. Once you've done that, we'll go through the answers. So if you pause the video so you can do that. So let's have a look. So this first one here, okay, do we think it's a good place for a settlement? Well, there's no flat land there to build. So it's probably not the great place. You wouldn't see many big cities around the world built in a place like that. So probably not. This place here, it's got some flat land here, hasn't it? Mountains in the background. Looks very dry, not much fresh water there. So probably I'd say not a great place for a settlement. What about this? Oh, now we didn't mention climate before, but look, it's freezing cold there. It's Antarctica. Is that a good place to build a town or settlement? No, okay, there isn't much fresh water and it's too extreme, it's too cold to survive there easily. This one here, now, you've got flat land and you've got fresh water here and you've got forest. So this is probably quite a good place to build a settlement. The only thing you might say is it could flood. Yeah, it does look like there's a lot of water there. So you can sort of mark that as you see fit. If you put down it would flood, then fine, no. What about this one here? Well, once again, mountainous and very cold, so this is not a good place for a settlement. What about here? Well, doesn't look too bad, does it? Lots of flat land. Looks like farmland as well, so probably quite good soil. We can't see any fresh water in the picture, however, everything seems to be growing quite well, it's quite green, so there's a likelihood there is a source of water nearby. So probably yes, a good place for a settlement. Is this a good place for a settlement? Probably not, no, because it's underwater. Okay, finally, look at these last ones. Which of these two do you think personally would be best to build a settlement? Do you think it would be number 1 or number 2? Have a go at explaining your answer and we'll look at the answer next lesson.